Good afternoon. This is Ryan Clark with PaymentVision. Welcome to our webinar on the key learnings to continue successfully collecting payments. We look forward to sharing some time with you this afternoon. Hopefully give you some unique insights to what we're seeing from the data over the last 6 months and how that data is translating into successful solutions for businesses to continue to collect payments in a way that's efficient and easy for their customers and continues to keep them safely and securely in business. Today we'll review the findings from the payment trend study. This is from our last 6 months of data coming in. We'll identify some tips that we've had from talking with our customers and what we're seeing in that data. And then we'll review some potential solutions. So you'll see some demos related to some of these solutions that we see working really well with our clients. Today, here's your team. This is Ryan Clark, Head of Product Management. Been in financial services for the last 10 years, working with a major bank, then facilitated the implementation of a payment system with a large healthcare provider, and then recently moved over to PaymentVision and AutoScribe to help support their payments product line. I'll turn it over to Rob.
Good afternoon, Rob Mangarelli, Vice President of Sales. I've been in the merchant service industry for over 20 years now. I've been proud to be part of the PaymentVision team for a little over 3 years. Thank you, and I'll pass it over to Michelle.
Hi, my name is Michelle Jeffers. I'm Director of Business Development at PaymentVision. I've been in the accounts receivable space for about 7 years. I was working at another company, and PaymentVision was one of my partners. And as of January of this year, I decided to move over and join this dynamic team. Jason?
Hey, my name is Jason Wallman. I'm one of the sales executives for PaymentVision. I've been with the company, I think, going on 4 years now in the payment space, just under 10. And we have a good team, strong team, and love the fact of moving over to PaymentVision as they offer so much. Back to you, Ryan.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We look forward to talking with you guys today. You'll see we have a wide background and a depth of background in financial services industry, and we hope you'll find this information helpful. So what will we do today? I'll tell you a little bit about PaymentVision. Why should you even value our opinion? I think we have over 30 years of experience in the industry. So this is taking a lot of findings from across our company, for the expertise across our company. So we want to highlight who we are and how we can help. Then we'll go into the findings of the payment trend study that we've done for the last 6 months. After that, we'll review some tips that we've learned to help keep your organization operating safely and protecting your customers. Specifically, we've found a lot of success in 3 products: Walk-in Payments Network, our digital solutions with mobile and web, the ability to use hosted tokenization, and then we'll also move into some other solutions if time permits. All right, so who is PaymentVision and why should it matter? So we're a mission-oriented company. We really value being compliant, being secure from a financial technology perspective. And then one of the things that makes us different is unlike your larger payment processors that give you a one-size-fits-all solution, we essentially allow for a lot of customization and a lot of branding, et cetera, to really make the solution fit for what you need. We have over 40 partnerships with other leading software providers, so it easily integrates into the systems that you use and makes it a more streamlined experience. And overall, we're committed to providing you better products and better service, and really passionate about what we do. And this will shine through. As you see, we have a dedicated customer care team that will lead you through from the sale all the way through implementation, and then maintaining your business and helping you with adoption and onboarding of your clients as you move through the implementation of a payment solution. For PaymentVision, we've been around since 1989. We started as AutoScribe Corporation. AutoScribe Corporation still exists today. Under AutoScribe Corporation, you have PaymentVision, which is responsible for payment processing and is a payment gateway provider. And you have Alliance Commercial Data, which is a leading financial data solution provider with services like account verification, account ownership, routing number verification, all kinds of cool information to help ensure that you are meeting your AML and KYC requirements. So the two companies really complement each other very well, and are guided by Rob Pullen with his 30 years of experience in the financial services industry under AutoScribe Corporation. For us, we really are focused on providing users the ability to process a payment, whether it's ACH, check, credit, or debit card, we can do it all. And then you'll find through this brief that we're able to provide you solutions in really any channel that you need, whether it's online or mobile or through a call center, a text, or we can even integrate through an API into any of your software. And we like to highlight where we started and how we got there. Our first patent was in a digital check solution back in the early 1990s, and then we were recently rewarded our ninth patent last year on the hosted tokenization technology that we'll talk about. And then in April this year, we released our first pay-by-text product offering. So we have a wide array of solutions and services and learnings over the last 30 years that we hope to share with you today. So this will be the fun part. This is where we hope you'll get a lot of value. We're going to basically have a conversation amongst the four of us today. Please feel free. I will note there is a section where you can ask questions right here on your panel. So at any time, feel free to go in there, type in a question. We will be observing that panel, and we will answer those questions as they come up. You can address them privately or to the broader audience, so please feel free. It is interactive in that sense. We also have a couple poll questions that we will reach out and ask occasionally to help maintain engagement and make sure that we're providing information that's most valuable to you. And so we'll try to focus discussion by asking poll questions here or there. So let's get started with the payments trend study. What did we do? So what's happening with payments in 2020? What we did is, over the last 6 months, we looked at a random sample of over $1 billion in authorized transactions from February 1st through June 30th. And we picked this time frame because February 1st was really before the major emphasis of the COVID impact in March. Then you have March, where you see the significant change in the economy from COVID. And then April to the end of June, you're able to really see how's the economy recovered, and specifically, how are people paying their bills? So in our payment study, again, over $1 billion in transactions analyzed from February 1st to June 30th. And in our space, the core focus areas were from consumers making payments on a debt that needs to be collected, or from financing either auto or unsecured loans, which could include a wider range of types of loans, including student loans, other unsecured debt, general financing. So a pretty good view of who's making payments and how they're making payments. Typically, the demographic is going to be between an 18 and 60-year-old primarily. Also, those that are making payments typically skew to lower to middle income households, and a majority of these users would be considered living paycheck to paycheck. One of the key observations we'll look at discussing today is, are people able to continue to pay their bills? We've had a lot of conversations about what did March mean to us, and what's the unemployment rate mean to us, and how are consumers adjusting this to continue to live and live successfully. So we'll look at that. The next is we'll talk about how people are paying their bills. What payment methods are they using? How are they using them? I think you'll see some really interesting things that will highlight why a certain payment method is shifting during this time. We think there's some key insights there. And then where are people paying their bills? With storefronts closing down, businesses still need to collect revenue and still have a service to provide. How are they doing that? And so we'll talk about some of the channel shift that we've seen as well. Any thoughts from the group before we get started?
No, let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
So this one is really a starting point to just kind of talk about what we're seeing from a cyclical nature. And one of the things that I don't think would shock anybody, but is very clear and present, is if you look at historically, when we compare payment volume in a given year, you'll see here in 2019 and 2018, you usually get this bump, and this bump is typically associated with the tax return coming in on top of your normal payments volume. The first quarter of the year is a really good time for folks to catch up. They, increase their debt going into Christmas time as they buy gifts and the holiday season, and they expand that debt load. And then as they come into the first quarter of the year, they get their tax return and they try to pay off some of that debt. And so typically you can see historically, we see that increase over and over and over. And in March, around March 7th, there was an announcement that we would be, closing down travel. We would be implementing certain restrictions, and there were certain health and safety precautions that Americans needed to take, and that resulted in businesses, in many cases, shutting their doors for a temporary basis, moving to work from home situations, and really created a lot of uncertainty in the economy. And so you'll see here, not only did tax returns not really come in, they've been pushed out to kind of July. And so, there's a couple hypotheses going on here, but what I would say is really consumers did not have the tax season bounce that we would expect to have seen, and they probably were overly cautious in the sense of, instead of taking that tax payment and applying it to debt right there and making that payment, if they had received their tax payment, they were holding it because of the uncertainty of the economy. Then the next thing that's really interesting here is you'll see in prior years in April, you typically get a drop in volume again as everything starts to return to normal. And what we actually saw in April was an increase. And I think what's interesting is if you look at the U.S. government's BEA, Bureau of Economic Analysis, here, their report on personal income in April actually demonstrated a 10% increase in the average household income. And they directly tied, and this was their words, they directly tied it to the stimulus that was paid out to millions of Americans, that their average household income went up about 10% during that time. So that's an interesting fact that really did result in some economic recovery and some comfort where people began paying their bills again. And you can see here what we're seeing is that that trend has continued even as in May, BEA reported a drop in income again. People are now getting a little more confident and comfortable that they're able to maintain their budget and pay their bills. And so we're seeing this lift, and I think the question for us is it sustainable? And why did we see the lift? So I think if we look at some additional economic factors that points to why did we see the behavior change? So in March, some uncertainty, and in April, the recovery and folks beginning to start to make payments. And we have a couple hypotheses that we'll put out there, and then a couple things to be thinking about. So first, if we look over on the left here, month-to-month change in consumer spending, one of the things folks did when they when the COVID shock occurred was folks stopped spending, right? And where they stopped spending was specifically in discretionary categories, consumer spending. They didn't go out to restaurants, they didn't have a lot of gas purchases, things like that. But they still actually used and paid off their primary debts. And we can see that when we look here, we see that they continue to make payments. And so this is, I think a good sign is discretionary income dropped. However, discretionary spending also dropped, and they maintained, paying those key bills off. Now, at the same time, you have another economic impact that we have to worry about, which is the tightening of credit standards. And so Statista recently reported, based off the quarterly results from Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citibank, and JP Morgan Chase, that if you look at Q4 loss reserves versus the first 2 quarters of 2020, they expect loan losses to increase dramatically. And what does this mean? Well, you're seeing 2 things. One is the major banks are reducing new loan originations, and second, they're closing dormant credit card accounts. Credit card accounts that aren't used are the first place folks will go because it's an open line of credit that they're already approved for. And so the banks are looking at this and saying, this is a huge risk for us. And so they're closing those lines or reducing those lines. And then second, they're really starting to tighten the credit standards to control for this loss provision. And so they're not issuing as many new loans, or they're increasing the standard in which they will offer the loan. And so there's a couple things to think about here, which is where will consumers go when they need lending support, when they need additional liquidity? They'll probably start to look for alternative solutions, from payday lending to any number of other solutions that are out there. May take on higher risk adventures, or may look for alternative solutions that many of you may be able to provide. Any thoughts from the team or any additional feedback?
Yeah, on the continued growth spending into June, July, I suspect some of that might have to do with the $600 employment security checks that a lot of people are getting. The fact that so many, well, I don't know so many, but many are making more money now than they did previously, which gives them the opportunity to catch up on some of their debts.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point that's going into this analysis.
I think also what we've heard from some of our clients is that while some of the payments they see on a monthly basis may have decreased, they are still seeing payments come in. They may be of a lesser amount, but they are still seeing payments, and the potential decrease they thought of up to 20–25%, they're seeing 5 to 10% with smaller payments. So it hasn't been as bad, at least from the survey we took with some of our clients.
Awesome. Yeah. Great. So what's this mean to you as a merchant or as an organization trying to collect payments? I think this is an interesting trend that we saw, and I would say February 2020 is really representative of, you could probably go back 2 or 3 years and see that this is a very representative sample of how people were paying pre-COVID. And what our data shows here is in 2020, in February 2020, almost 2/3, 61%, used a card to make a payment, credit card, debit card, but a card to make a payment. And then about 39% used ACH or a bank account to directly make a payment. And what we're seeing actually is a shift here in June, and this is gradually moved. This isn't just a spike in June, but if you were to look at the numbers from March to April to May to June, you see this shift occurring, which is you're about a 50-50 split right now. So more people, more consumers and clients are using ACH to make payments. And I think you're going to see that for 2 reasons. One from a client perspective or merchant perspective, and one from a customer perspective where they're, may not have as much access to a card to make those payments as we talked about earlier. But I think the one that's really interesting, I'll turn it over to Jason here, is some of the conversations he's been having with clients about how they're trying to reduce payment processing costs.
Yeah, at a personal experience of some business owners I've been speaking with in this time period, I find that a positive discussion to press an adoption or a push to maybe inside the company with their customers or clients to reduce their overhead cost of their bill or whatever, if they could switch to an ACH payment. Just that ACH transaction is reducing kind of like the overhead of operations with doing a credit card transaction. So in my recent conversation of a particular company, they found a unique way to kind of help each particular customer or client if they can promote that ACH payment online, which we'll review here shortly in a demo on how an ACH payment could be made online. They kind of have little perks to that. So I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing other companies doing the same trend of reducing that overhead piece with the card and moving over to ACH.
Yeah, it's an important point to, if I was a merchant looking at this, we know today card payments typically are a higher cost, right? You have an interchange plus, and then with an ACH you have essentially a fixed fee that's a little bit lower. There's some processing fees, etc., but typically your ACH on average is going to be a significantly lower cost than a card payment. The other thing that we saw that was interesting was, I'll highlight right here at the bottom, was transaction size. So to Rob's point earlier, we really saw card payment volume remain relatively flat, especially when we think about average transaction size. So folks weren't putting more payments from a debt perspective on a card. They kept that relatively the same. So you didn't see those that are continuing to use a card didn't really shift their behavior as much, but those that are using ACH, what you saw was them shifting. When they shifted a card payment away to ACH, in the past what you had was kind of a behavior where larger payments went on card and smaller payments went through your bank account directly, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But what we're now seeing is those larger payments that were on card are shifting over to ACH, and so you saw within the first those 3 months from February to May, ACH payments on average, that transaction size increased 14%, and that's most likely due to that shift from a card to an ACH payment from the consumer. All right, let's talk about this one. I think this is interesting. So what we have here, and we saw it when we looked at the general overview, we actually have growth in payments volume year over year. And so when we look at this, what this is really trying to provide is a little bit of a little amplitude or a magnitude associated with how consumers are shifting their payment behavior. And what we'd highlight here is you can see that web payments from a year-over-year perspective, or from a February to June perspective, so only in 4 months, web payments increased 7.9 or 8% overall. And then phone payments, this is either a call into your call center or through IVR, increased 6%. So we're seeing significant shift there. Any thoughts from the team on that?
Yeah, I think with more companies forced to make their employees work from home, you know, the web has been a more predominant way of accepting payments, since you don't have to speak to an agent, and these agents aren't allowed to make phone calls out. So
Right.
with the IVR and the web, since there's no agent involved, we see a lift in those type of payments for the last few months.
Yeah. And then I think,
Right.
you know, when we get into the phone IVR call center concept, to ping pong off of what Rob said, you know, if people don't have websites up that are, you know, PCI compliant and stuff, but they still have a call center, those numbers, or they're turning on a call center, like IVR is very helpful, because it's still, you know, it's a recorded line that gives that person to call from home and keep a safe transaction to make their payment.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And you know, one of the things that I was interested in here is mobile. So we have some other data that shows that consumers are now making financial transactions. Over 60% of consumers in general are willing to make a financial transaction over the mobile phone. So there's a high level of adoption, and we're seeing the growth here as well as some shift. I think it's one that you will have to balance, right? Which is when you launch a mobile solution, it is what the consumer wants. As we see, we'll talk about in some later data, but there's also still some adoption or onboarding that you have to do with those consumers to help kind of get them up to speed of what's available on the phone and how you can use it to increase efficiency from a merchant side and also improve convenience and flexibility for the consumer.
Ryan, you know what, to add just real quick on there,
Yeah.
I think just because of a millennial concept and a view, I think this, because of the COVID era time that people are forced to pay from their home, or what do we all have in our hands? Cell phones, right? So this is leading into like text to pay, our mobile app, this new technology that we've created, but that's out there for people to use. I think it's forcing people to go, well, we got to use this millennial concept of this new age technology, and how can we get our hands on it to make our payments faster and more simplistically?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree.
I
And
agree.
just to throw out another statistic to the group. So on aggregate, that's all users over 18. 60% would say they would use a mobile phone for a financial transaction. If you look at just the age group 18 to 25, over 80% of those users would use a mobile phone or have used a mobile phone to conduct a financial transaction. So to your point, you're at home, you have your phone in your hand, you can get everything done right there. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let me turn it over to Rob Mangarelli, our VP of Sales, and we'll start to talk about some of our solutions. And real quick, before we move on, let me just see if there's any questions from the group. We don't have any coming in, but if anyone wants to take a couple seconds, you know, if you have a question or anything that you want to answer or clarification of the data, just write it over here and we'll review it and answer it during the call. All right, seeing none come in right now, let's go ahead and turn it over to Rob.
Thank you, Ryan. So let's talk about some of the payment methods PaymentVision has to offer. Of course, we can offer credit and debit card processing, ACH processing, which we have heard now is becoming more predominant way to pay. The old-fashioned hard-coded checks we can process for you. And then we can also do a cash walk-in payments for those that aren't privy enough to have a bank account. We are a safe, secure, and compliant company. We are DigiCert secure. We are NACHA compliant. We are PCI DSS level 1 compliant. And then we also have a SOC 2 type 2 certification, as well as ADA compliant. Some of the payment channels and gateway solutions PaymentVision offers. As mentioned before, we have a Pay API product that helps integrate into a lot of different software solutions out there. We have Pay Agent, which is our virtual terminal solution. Pay IVR, which we have in English and Spanish, which we just highlighted, has become more of a choice during the coronavirus pandemic. Pay web, as we saw, was the #1 option increase since people are home more often. We released a few months ago Pay by Text, something we're going to demo today. Pay PV walk-in payments, that's our cash walk-in payments for those that do not have bank accounts. The mobile app that can be branded, your custom logo for your business that we've talked about a little bit, and then also Pay by Kiosk. And now I think we're going to lead with a poll question, correct, Ryan?
That is right. We're going to lead with a poll question. I have a quick poll I'm going to put up here for the audience. It's actually 3 questions, so we'll give everyone about 3 minutes to, or I'm sorry, about a minute to launch the 3 questions. And we do have a question that came in. Just 1 second here. We'll launch the poll. You guys should be seeing the poll come up here. And if you could go ahead and begin to answer that poll as it pops up on your screen. There is 3 questions, and appreciate your feedback. So one of the first questions we got in on the list is there a pay by facial recognition feature? So that's interesting. We are always looking at new technologies. Right now, what I would say is you don't have necessarily a pay by facial recognition, but what you do have is if you're using our mobile app, or if you're using our mobile app, we are integrated with the facial recognition software for the mobile devices, so you can use that as part of your secure login to make sure that you have the appropriate security for your users.
And fingerprint.
And the fingerprint on the phones too. So it
Right.
does use all the mobile technology that's available. It's integrated with that. All right, and I'm gonna give it about 30 seconds. We only have a few answers in the poll right now from the larger audience, but we'll take a look here. So the first question was, what is the biggest impact to your business during this time? Right now, the leading answer is regulatory changes. Next, is your business ready for the new normal? I think the appropriate answer there, and this is where everyone's leading, is maybe. And I think we'd all agree. Who knows what the new normal is going to be? But we're with you. We're going to adapt and adjust based on what folks need and what we're seeing as far as, from the market where we need to be to best support you, our clients and customers. And then from a product perspective, what products are you most interested in? What we're seeing in the poll is mobile app was the top priority with every participant asking to see that. Then next up was Pay Web, Pay by Text, Pay API, and then a discussion around our payment processing solutions. So we'll go ahead and end this poll, and we'll go ahead and move on. Team, would you guys like to start with mobile app? Or Rob, will you start with walk-in payments? We'll do a quick overview of walk-in payments, and then we'll pass it over to Michelle to do mobile app.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, cool. All right, I just ended the poll. Thank you all for those who participated. All right. All right, let's talk walk-in payments, and then we'll pass it over to Michelle for mobile app.
Sure. So one of the solutions we added last year was walk-in payments, cash payments. So what we found out is that not everyone can get a bank account, and these individuals still need to pay their bills as well. So what we've done is we've partnered with a couple companies all over the U.S. to allow the ability for consumers to walk into a CVS, a Walmart, a Kroger, a Dollar General, and go ahead and make a cash payment, and that allows them to make their payment just like everyone else with a credit card or a bank account, but also make that payment, and then it then is reflected in their system of record and shows that their balance has been paid. One of the reasons why our merchants like this option is there's typically no cost to you, the merchant, our client. Typically, this cost is passed on to the consumer, typically in the range of $295 up to $495 based on the geographic area you're in or the store you pay at. So it gives you the ability to, as discussed earlier, decrease overhead costs. So this is something that we see a lot of people consider these days because not all will have bank accounts, and it also helps offset some of the monthly costs from your processing partner.
You know, one of the things I might add too when I think about this one with storefronts, you know, not as widely open or the different restrictions, and you know, we kind of have this yo-yo effect in the economy right now of like, should we stay open, should we close? And so businesses are constantly, you know, talking about how are they going to maintain the customer flow and customer communication, and so when they're doing that, this is a safe way or a safe alternative to add to your tool set to allow customers to still go into these big box stores or these local mom and pops that signed on with us to partner with us to collect these payments and do it in a safe way. So if your storefront isn't available or if your office isn't open to collect payments, but you have someone that's kind of falls in that underbanked category, there's still a location that they can go to. And so it's a way to keep your employees safe. It's a way to keep connected to all of your customers when you have these different fluctuations in the market or in your operations.
And with also over 40,000 locations nationwide, it would be hard for us not to have a location in your area for one of your consumers to go in and make a payment. So it's very convenient, and there's so many different options and choices to choose from. It really is a good option that a lot of people are starting to talk about more.
And real quick, Rob, we had a question come in with this, the 40,000 locations in big box. Is this integrated with Walmart?
It is. Walmart is one of our locations that people can make payments with cash in.
Awesome. And we'll also follow up. We have another question with a list of the places. So we'll follow up with you and actually go into more detail with you. We can send some of that information out after the webinar and answer your specific questions on the list of places and the frequency or the frequency of locations.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Michelle, you ready to go with mobile?
Yes, I am. Let me share my screen.
All right.
Can everybody see my phone?
Let's see here. Let me stop sharing. All right. Try it now.
What does it say here?
All right. Try now. That was probably on my side. Yep. All right.
Okay.
Now try.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Can you see my phone?
We can see it now.
Yeah,
yep.
There it is.
Excellent. Okay. So what you'll see here is I've got an iPhone, and oops, let me touch it again. And so I went to the Apple Store and I downloaded our app. Now, if you were to use this, of course, it would have your logo here and the name of your company. So go ahead and, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to log in to this mobile app. And this is a little bit slow because I'm in my home, of course. And as we've all experienced, our internet connections are a little bit slower than usual. There we go. So, and you'll see this when we do the Pay Web demo as well. The first thing that we come to is a screen where we can update or confirm our personal information. I'm going to go ahead and just confirm that now. And here's a summary of my accounts that I owe. And you'll see here that we do have the ability to have linked accounts. So I can pay off on all of these accounts, or I can select a particular one to pay off. I'll go ahead and select the one that's up here, because that's the one I logged in with. the account summary that I had logged in with. And I can set up a payment plan. I can make an alternative payment amount or pay off the current balance. I have the ability to set the date that I'm going to make the payment. And this is really cool because it is a mobile app. You have the ability to use the scanning recognition. So if I were to add a bank account here, I could push it on this button here, right here, and it would scan the check for me. And it has the same functionality if you're using a credit card. So that's really cool, I think. But I'm going to go ahead and use this bank account and hit continue. And before the payment goes through, of course, it wants me to verify the information. So I'm making a $1,000 payment. You'll see in this scenario, there is a transaction fee that PaymentVision is charging. We have the ability to charge fees. Either we can charge a fee or you can charge a fee. And I'm making this total payment, so it's there. But if I had done a recurring payment, of course, it would outline all the payments that I was about to make. And yes, I do want to make it on this checking account. So I will simply check that I authorize this and put in my password. And you can't see that on my phone. It's not interesting. It's not on the screen, but I do have the ability to use the secure passwords. If I push a button, it'll bring up all my passwords. Sort of looks like a pearl necklace, doesn't it? And we found that this is a popular application for finance groups, auto finance, unsecured loans, and I think it would work very well with collections too. It would just take some effort on the part of the collection agency to get adoption. So you'll see here in this section here, we did have a email address on file. So an email with all the information on this payment has been automatically emailed to this consumer. I also have the ability to put something, well, I have to do it on my phone, put in another address here. So let's say I wanted to let my husband know I paid this bill, so I can type in his email address and send it off to him. And there's my receipt. And I log out. And you'll see here that it does have that Touch ID, that question earlier about facial recognition. Whatever capabilities you have on your phone, you'll have with this application. Jason, do you have any comments about the mobile app that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think that's nice. I like the fingerprint piece at the end. I think it's very succinct and easy to use. Is that like what I saw 5 clicks to make the payment, which I think, let's get back in that millennial concept. If it's not fast enough, it's just not fast enough for people to make their payment because we're so distracted to the next thing. That's everyone, right? So I like that the phone app is very similar to what we're going to also show on the Pay Web because it gives familiarity to of what they're used to doing. And if they can have something super simplistic to get onto their phone on their homepage, I think that's a big help.
And yeah, if I can add, I'm sorry, since it is customized, you know, it is a good branding opportunity for businesses, you know, to have their app in the 2 app stores. So, you know, just one of the other things out there. And what we have seen is it doesn't really cannibalize. I mean, it will pull payments from other payment channels, but we've also been able to identify that it does help increase overall total payments by a little bit as well.
Yeah, I was going to highlight a couple things to your point, Rob. The way we designed this mobile app is it's your app. So as a merchant, where you see PaymentVision branding, that's your branding. where you see PaymentVision colors, that's your colors. When you go into the App Store, you don't see the PaymentVision payment app. You see your organization's payment app, right? And so it
Right.
is unique to you. And when you look at it and you compare and contrast us to other companies, that's a key differentiator, because a lot of the other payment companies have a centralized payment app, and then you're one of the tenant solutions on that app, where the way we've designed it is you have your app. It's your app, it's your name, it's your branding. It's more than just a white labeled solution. And so I think that's powerful. And then the second thing I would highlight with the mobile app that it does for you is, if you are familiar with online banking and mobile banking, a couple of things that you have is remote deposit capture and card scan. So when you're to go in to make a payment, and let's say you need to add a new bank account, you can use a check. If you have a lot of users that pay you with a check, and that check, you're on the phone with the customer, and the customer says, "Oh, great, I'll send a check in today." And you get off the phone and you hope that that consumer goes and writes that check and sends it in to you. And they write the check, they put it in the mailbox, the mail gets picked up the next day, 2 to 3 days till it gets to your business, it gets into your business's mail, eventually you open it, takes a couple days to process, put it into your bank account. And if the bank has any holds on your checks or anything like that, it could be 7 to 10 days till you actually have that money settled in your account where it's usable. Versus when you use a mobile app like this, you can control the situation while you're on the phone with the consumer. Let's go ahead and download our mobile app. Let's go ahead and make that payment. Yes, you can pay with check. Go ahead and scan your check in. And when you scan that check in, then converts it to an ACH payment, and it goes right through with normal ACH processing. So you reduce that float significantly, and you also reduce the operational burden and costs associated with your check collecting process.
And I think Rob made a really good point, Ryan, on the marketing side. As simple as, like, let's just say a financial institution or loans, or they're paying on their note or whatever it is. Someone who's on the phone that works for that company, just say, hey, we have actually an app for that. Just go download the app, and it's our brand, it's just a great marketing ploy, and help get their company out there and make it easy for somebody to make a payment. So either whether that's someone signing a contract at a desk or it's over the phone, it's easy verbiage just to go and then download that app to make the payment. So great marketing.
Yeah, and also I'd like to point out that we do tokenize everything. Of course, we're required to tokenize debit and credit cards. Oh, I don't have one in here. But
I can show it on the web.
Yeah, both your credit card information and your bank account. Click on the phone, not the computer screen, Michelle. both the credit card information and the checking account information is tokenized, so that everything is secure for your consumer.
Yep. And then on the bottom right corner of her screen, you can see that little check icon. So if you had a check to scan in, or your consumer had a check, they could just click on that icon. It'll capture the check image through remote deposit capture. And then it'll store that information for you to process the payment.
And we do give them the option of saving their information in the app or not. It's a time saver for them, of course, if they do.
And then we had a question that came in: does the receipt show the account balance? And so in the demo that we provided, it did not, but there are a lot of features that are customizable. So we could talk about what you need to see on that receipt, and then customize it as appropriate for that merchant.
That's good.
Cool.
Okay. What's next, Ryan?
Let's see. No additional questions coming in from the panel on mobile. So let's go ahead and move over to PayWeb. Jason, you want to go ahead and get started with that? And I
will. Let me
yeah.
share my screen.
Perfect.
Let's see. PayWeb. Share. Let me know when can you see my screen?
We can see it now.
Okay. All right, fantastic. All right, so PayWeb, what you guys are looking at right here, this would be the link that would, if any companies out there that have a link to click, like Pay Now or log into your account now on your current website. So the benefit of our site is this is the gateway that takes you in to make the payment. The information that you're about to see, this stuff is shared between us and your software. So this can be done one or to two ways. Okay, the first way is either like a CIF, a file share, a customer information file, or an API integration, and we have many partners that we're associated with. But this is all customizable from the PaymentVision that you guys can see in the blue, green and blue at the top left-hand side. That would be your logo. And then any language when they are signing in to make their payment, if you have any legal jargon or anything that you need to give out any information to anybody before they make their payment, you can customize that to say that there. The account and password, this is what we refer to as authenticating the payment. And this is also done in two ways. And why do you want to do that? Well, it helps reduce those chargebacks that we don't want to see. So this is actually configurable 65 different ways with PaymentVision, and it's just an identifier that feeds back to your software. So I think there was a question out that answers, how's that shares that back, or receipts or balances shown. It can be all done through here too. So logging in. And in this case, we have Ryan Clark. Hey, Ryan, welcome to the Let's Pay Your Debt. And he lives at Gaithersburg, Maryland. Okay. Now this is optional. Remember, everything, guys, you see here, this is all customizable. So if there's some information you don't want to show on this part of the gateway when they're making the payment, it's totally up to you. They do have an update screen. So if you click the update button here, it'll take you to a different screen to put in the new address or phone number or email that, yes, it is shared back to your software. So you don't have to manually post that back, or if you don't want them to have that much control, guys, you can actually have something say down there to please call in to update your information. What's really special is down here at the bottom is our new technology piece, is the notification to subscription holders, is selecting the phone number that you want to add SMS texting to. So in this case, we're going to use Michelle's phone as an example for the demo, and we put the number in there, and we can ask for receiving account information or making payments via text, which that's the purpose of it. So we're going to continue and save. And yes, it'll give the notification to the customer or client that the number that we're being used is being stored within the software, and you want to make payments for the future. The account home, to going back to answer to somebody's question I think I heard about showing account balances. You can do this here. It is customizable in this section. So if that's something companies don't want to show, of course we can take that out. And in this case, it's a lot of money. Ryan, you owe $45,000 to Chase credit card. We're making our payment to $150. And then also, as you saw in the
definitely not a dormant account.
No, not a dormant account at all. Just like you saw, guys, everyone saw the linked or called packeted accounts to your software. We don't have it shown here, but it is capable to show all the other linked accounts below as well. But in this case, for the demo, we're gonna make a simple payment. All right. To the payee, the payee code and account reference code, this is back to the software. It's just those digital numbers. Options of payments, we can do one or two ways, a one-time payment or a payment plan. Now, we're gonna do the one-time payment option through this, this demo. The payment plan, it may not agree to a lot of people that are already out there, because some people already have agreements. And I think if you threw out on your website for somebody to negotiate an already negotiated payment plan setup, that probably wouldn't be that good of an idea. So we can take that out. But if you do like that feature and you don't want anybody calling in to an office, and they can actually figure out a payment plan for themselves with that button there for the rest of their debt owed. In this case, we have the $45,000, current payment amount is $150, and this other payment section, guys, that's customizable too. If you don't want them to negotiate another payment side, or you want a logistical lowest payment that you'll accept, you can also put that in there as well. In this case, we're gonna pay that current amount of $150 to reduce that $45,000, Ryan, and we can pick the dates on the calendar. And for accounts receivable purposes at the end of the month, if you want to block out a couple days at the month, it makes sense. We can organize this for you, whatever suits best, but the customer can choose their date. And in this case, we have bank account and credit card choice. With the bank account, I'll cover this now. We have a feature called AVS, account verification. We can put in a bank account and routing number, and it'll verify if the account is good in good standings, or if there's any fraudulent activity, it'll flag back to you guys to let you know that you may want to call this client and get updated information because you're not going to be using that bank account. So a great technology piece on our end that we can do. Same thing with the credit card. You can go in the credit card, it'll all tokenize. You can see here that it only houses the last 4 digits of the last card being that was made a payment, and you could add as many cards as you want, guys, in here, and it'll save all the cards and still do the same feature of the AVS if desired, and save it if they want future payments with that card or just for this time, one-time use. So in this case, we're going to pick the card on file, and as you guys can see here, this convenience fee, the $3.95, very similar to the cash walk-in that Rob Mangarelli was talking about. We can actually do the same thing here on the web or the mobile app or the text to pay. We can actually figure out a particular cost to offset those charges with the merchant service account of your credit card, debit card, to reduce that overhead a little bit for you. So that's a nice feature that we can do. And in this case, we are going to make a payment using that card on file. Does a recap, I'm sorry, I'm moving too fast. Verify payment, this account, the amount paid today, the date it was paid on. PaymentVision is collecting the convenience fee on behalf of you, the total, and then a disclosure at the bottom. This, again, can be all customizable if you want certain jargon to say to your clients or customers, or we can recommend anything that you want to say, and we can put it in that box for you. But this is I like this feature. It's pretty exciting. We got e-signature, guys. I can type my name. That's awesome. So not just once in the very beginning logging and signing on, we're doing it at the end, hence you're dual authenticating the payment with e-signature involved. How awesome is that? Make the payment. And come on, internet. Yeah, you're not alone, Michelle.
This is the new normal.
Yeah, this is the new normal. All right, just like how you guys saw how similar this is to the mobile app. It's pretty much done on purpose, so it's comfortable for everybody to use either element. Again, like Michelle said, on the mobile app, you can do it here. You can actually enter in, and notice it lights up in red an email. It has to be a valid email, and actually that gets sent back to your software to future reach out to any other party, which is nice. And then a breakdown of what the payments was made for the day. So that sums up actually it's typically 6 clicks. So hopefully that's fast enough for our millennials out there to make a payment. And at the top of the bar, you can see just a couple menu items. They can verify their contact information. So I click this, it moves quick, moving pretty slow. Someday we'll get there. There's an account home, and if it doesn't move fast enough, I'll click on view payments. They can actually view all their historical payments, and what's interesting, on all the payments they made from the web or other avenues. So we'll click on view payments.
And also, in the interest of time, we got about 7 minutes left. What we'll do is also transition over to Michelle to show how she's now integrated with the payment software, and she can use Pay by Text to complete a payment within 3 clicks. And I think to your point, right, we're constantly improving this experience. So we actually have work underway for the next iteration and future of a payments platform to make it even easier and more streamlined and frictionless for our consumers. So we're going to continue to invest in these products and make them as best as they can be for our clients.
All right, Michelle, it's ready for you, so you can take it to the tech. We are done with the web.
Okay, and while I'm getting this turned on here, okay, can you see my phone again?
We can.
Okay, let's see here. Okay. Well, two things I wanted to say about Jason's presentation. That website is also mobile optimized, so that works very well for the millennials who are always on their cell phones. And in addition, the email notification that he talked about, we can have it coded so that you can get a blind copy of that email notification once a payment's been made. So if you'll recall, when Jason started his presentation, he had registered my phone, and so that what happened this morning is he put my phone number in, and I was immediately given this code, which then Jason had to enter into the system before he allowed me to receive notifications and make payments by text. So he put that in there, and I was ready to go. And I'm just going to show you this instead of doing it, since we are almost out of time here. So I typed pay, and what it did is it explained to me that the last payment I made was with my Visa card ending in 1111, and if I want to use this card, select 1, if not, hit 2, and if I had selected 2, it would ask me for some new funding information. But I went ahead and used the same card, and it told me how much money I was past due on, and asked me if I would like to pay another amount. Now, you don't have to give that option if you don't want to, if you don't want them to pay a lesser amount. But sometimes people like this because they might pay a greater amount than what the past due amount is. And you can put in the background, we can put in the logic so that you have a minimum payment, so that they're not trying to pay you, $5. So I selected 1 to pay that off. And then it wanted me to authorize that payment, very much like it did on all these other channels where you have to authorize the payment before it goes through. So I typed authorize, and I want to point out that it is not case sensitive. I did not type it exactly the way they asked me to. And then it thanked me for my payment, and then once it actually went through the processing queue, I got my web confirmation, thank you. And then next month comes around, or next week, depending on how often I'm scheduled to make my payments, I just hit pay again, and I can just keep doing this until we pay off Ryan's extensive credit card.
Please do. I need some help.
Yeah.
I definitely need some help. I think the amazing thing here is, well, we don't recommend it. One of our clients said, I need a payment solution that my customer can make a payment at a stoplight. It needs to be that easy, right? And they're an auto financer, and they said, so in this sense, really, you could type in pay, 111, authorize, 3 steps, and you've completed your payment, and you can do it at, so easy and so simple that you could do it, while you're waiting at a traffic light. We don't recommend it, but we highlight that it's that seamless and frictionless for our users. And again, she brought up a great point about the flexibility and customization of the terms. Like authorize, you can set what level of threshold or tolerance you want to have around the logic when it recognizes something. So we, as a best practice, whenever you want pay, you want it to be very specific. So that way, if someone says don't pay, it doesn't capture pay and still make a payment. You want it to be very specific to the term. But then these other responses, you can have more loose and friendly. So when they're using their own lingo, the system still recognizes it.
Yes, I've seen one where you just replied yes instead of authorize. So there's a lot of flexibility in the site.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, we are approaching 1 hour. We got about 2 minutes left. I want to just see if there's any additional questions that came in from our users. It looks like we've answered everything so far. We do really want to thank you for your time. I'm going to go ahead and take the screen back real quick here. We appreciate everyone's time. I had a lot of fun today doing this. This was really cool to show off the great technology we have for our customers, have a good conversation about how we can help you and your consumers still make payments in this new normal. We hope that you found the data at least interesting and hopefully somewhat enlightening, and will help shape some of the ways you're going to run your business in the future to help keep your customers safe, but also from your perspective, keep your business running and keep that continuous operations going in a safe and compliant manner. We hope our solutions will help you get there. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Here is our office line and our sales number. You also saw there that my email is rclark@paymentvision.com. You have Rob Mangarelli, R. Mangarelli, at paymentvision.com, Michelle Jeffers, M. Jeffers at paymentvision.com, Jason Waldman, J. Waldman at paymentvision.com. So please feel free to reach out to any one of us, and we'll definitely get you in touch with the right person and the information you need. One real quick thing, how do you ensure the security and fraud transaction when you use the text to pay? Okay, so there's some really cool things. So there's a question that came in for the audience. I know we're at time, but for security of text to pay, we do a couple things. One of them is we do a device recognition, and there's also an authorization that the user has to do. So you saw really quick at the beginning of demo that response to make sure that you were the user that went into PayWeb and signed up for the subscription. You have to do a device recognition process step where we send you a code and you validate the code while you're still logged into PayWeb. And then from there on, you do have a device recognition feature, and you can step up your level of security based on your client need. So we can definitely go in more detail, and if you'd like for that question, we'll set up more time to go into that with you. But there's definitely ways to make sure that text payment stays secure and you prevent fraud through that transaction. We can help you mitigate that risk. All right, anything from the group as we close out? And again, thank you to everyone for giving us an hour of your time. We really appreciated it.
No, just thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.